This is a Taranis X7 transmitter from FreeSky. And what we're gonna do first, we've got a few things we have to do in order to get this thing set up the way that we want it. We will have to create a model in the software for all the different vehicles that you have, but that's later. What this video is about is just mainly a couple things, and it has to do with back here. So you flip it over, first thing you see is right here. This is frequently mistaken for the battery compartment. This is for extra modules like the Crossfire or whatever else anybody else wants to create to interface with the device. Down here is the battery box, and I think it's been about a year ago or so, they stopped selling these with the battery trays inside. And it was a little bit, I don't know if you'd say it was entirely disconcerting, but you'd open the box up and there's no more battery tray in here, which meant all the AA batteries I had were no good and we had to get some LiPos. But that was okay in a way because everybody was doing that anyways. They were ripping those out and finding a LiPo to put in. And so Taranis, FreeSky just figured, hey, you know, let's just get rid of it. At any rate, this is where the battery goes. And to just give a little conversation on this, what my objective has been, and Race Day Quads I'm sure as well, is trying to find the biggest battery we can pack in this little compartment and still be able to fairly easily connect. The way you connect this, now this is important, this is classically how you plug something in, because with a multi-celled battery, you end up with the sum total of all the cells, you know, in series. So in this case, you know, we're going to get nominally the 7.6 volts out of a 2S battery. And then you use the balance leads for charging so that if you want to make sure that each cell is individually at its proper, you know, fully charged 4.2 volts, you're going to do that through your balance leads. Now, there's nothing wrong with taking power from these because they're there, but it's going to be for each individual cell. And in the circuitry inside the device, if you want to try to merge that together or however you see fit, you could. So anyways, you do not plug this into here. This goes into here. This one here, I bought this just after they came out, and so it does not have on the back here, if I turn it this way, it's usually over on this side, I believe. There is another port that is for a cable that comes with it, and it's a little adapter that you could plug in, and then you could charge the battery from the outside. You could plug your charger into it and charge it that way. That might be handy for you, possibly. But I found that this is not this big of a deal to plug this in like so. You can kind of tell that it's been yanked on a touch. It's sort of crooked in there, but so far it hasn't mattered. Then what I do is I take this, you see how it's got the little notches in here and the little tabs right here? I kind of bend it a little bit in my hand, just a touch, so it's kind of 90 degrees, and come down here. Let's turn it where you can see it, sort of. Just turn it a little bit and plug it in. Not really super hard, so you see how that works for you. But that was the first part, so that's where the battery goes. Having said that, we're going to go ahead and get rid of it again, because what we need to do is get inside the transmitter to try to change some of the way that the sticks fill. Now mine has already been modified, so if you can see this right here, let me hold it from this direction. Now watch. I don't know if you could see that on camera, but I have it in such a way to where if I hit it, it has just enough tension to kind of stay put. My mission has always been to be just about as free as possible. I have found my limit though. I have an X-Lite that I've made it so soft to where, you know, you don't want it so soft to when you let go it falls down, but it's so smooth that it does feel like if you move your finger just a little bit or let go for just half a second, which you shouldn't be doing, it does move a touch. So at any rate, you know, you find your tension. The thing that I would say is no good, verging on even dangerous, and, you know, I don't care what you say kind of thing, is the ratchet that's on here. So the ratchet, if you're flying an airplane, then maybe, or anything where you're just going to set it and forget it, you just go tick, 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 and it comes up here and you let go and that's where it stays. That's for those kinds of vehicles. Our freestyle racing drones, you need to be on the sticks all the time. And when I see people doing this, they fly and then I'll hear this. Because they're letting the stick go and they're thinking, I'm going to snap it back to center. These are usually the people that have flown some other kind of self-leveling to earth, auto flying kind of vehicle, DJIs and the cheap little baby drones that you can just buy on Amazon. You can't do that with this. You need to have your hands on it the whole entire time. Especially later when we get into PID control. If you're the kind of person that moves this a little bit and then lets it snap back and then grabs it and lets it snap back, and you watch these videos about how too much, not enough degain or something, is causing it to kind of, you snap back and it wiggles and it snap back and it wiggles, and snap back and, well, and you keep adjusting your degain and it never fixes. Well, it's because of that. It's because the spring is bouncing it around. So hands always on. To the point, we need to flip this over and we got to get inside here, and what you're going to find on the gimbals internally is some adjustments to try to get rid of the ratchet and the tension that is actually on this. So there's going to be two plates, just to kind of forward this so you can understand what we're going to see in there. There's two little strips of metal that are laying across a plastic cam, and this plastic cam, one of these metal pieces has got a little bit of a triangle bent into it, and then a detent, matching bunch of detents on one of these cams, and that's your ratchet. So it goes tick, 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 tick when you go to move it. The other one next to it is a flat plate on a smooth cam, and that's just for the tension. I'm going to try to do this very carefully so you can see exactly what's happening. This one here is the one that has the ratchet on it. So you should see this first cam right here, this first arc. This has got the ratchets in it. So if I were to push this down and I'm reaching behind to move the thing, this, can you hear that? So that's the ratchet right there. So what we want to do is loosen this up here. I do not have any plans so much, I wouldn't say not at all, but of flying any aircraft with this or any vehicle that needs to have that ratchet. So I have actually considered cutting this thing off. If you notice that this is just one piece of metal that they've cut it down to about this point right here. What I do is I loosen this all the way up, but there was already a bit of tension on here, and so I ended up having to pry this back up to get that from laying on there. I did not want to have that. Again, if you look at this, it's not even touching. I didn't want it to be like, oh, I can hardly feel it at all. I didn't want any snapping whatsoever. The other thing I wanted to say, because I touched on it and never really got back to it, was why am I so adamant about having no ratchet on here whatsoever? The ratchet, the little detent on there, if you're flying fast and you're cruising down the field and you're going to go for a gate or under a branch or wherever, and you're trying to square up for the thing so that you could shoot underneath of it, I've noticed that one little detent that it snaps up to could be as much as it feels like about a foot, that the whole quad will jerk up and down as I hit that detent. I do not want that. I do not want that at all. So again, I loosen it up and I get a screwdriver in here or something and I pry it up and I bend this feature right here, this strip, so that it's in no way contacting that piece of plastic. Right now, looking at it, it's about almost 2 millimeters. The tip of that detent is almost about 2 millimeters away from the actual plastic. Then on the other side right here, this is the one that is the tensioner, and I'll see if I can just roll that around as well. The tensioner, you get it to where you like it. It's on there a little bit, and here's my kind of point of view of this. If I flip this back over, and I have this, let's say that this is a little bit vertical. I have it lifted up a little bit, and if I let go of this and it just falls down, I might not want that. But like I said, your hands should be on the thing the whole time, so maybe that is okay. So here's the issue. You're flying around and you're hitting it with some gas, and then, you know, if you do let go, let's say it'll fall, but you don't, so that's fine. But then you come in for a landing, whee, and you land and you throttle down and then you let go. If I took the tension off there entirely, I noticed that there's something else in there, a bit of a spring, maybe it's a little bit of gravity component. It feels like a spring in there somewhere or another, but I let go and it pops back up just a tiny little bit. Or you do it quickly and you let go and then maybe it springs up. Or maybe you put it down like this and then you tilt forward and maybe you didn't disarm it, which yeah, you should have, but then the thing falls forward a touch and then of course then there's going to be some problems when your quad jumps in your face. So put enough tension on it to where if you were to hit it, it just barely will fall down. That's, again, my opinion, but you figure that out. Then that is all I really wanted to show with this. I have maybe one more thing to point out. One of the features, one of the things that has been broke most with these are these switches. That you drop the transmitter. We've had people pull them out of the box, slipped out of their hand, brand new, and the first thing they did is snap these off. So looking here, you can buy these online. Just take a look at what you would have to do to replace it. It's not terribly too hard. You unscrew this. This will come out. This is just some heat shrink right here over the connectors. You're going to have to do some soldering, of course. Solder those back on, and then you can replace the switches. Some people go intentionally to find different switches that maybe they've got some silicone-coated ones or even just the sleeves to put on. So that's all. I'm going to go ahead and screw this back together and put the battery back in. Next video on this topic will be setting up models.